the WebEx streaming out to the wide world whenever you wish.
You should be good to go.
Okay, thank you. I heard the city tell me that, and I'm really good. I can bring up my agenda. Yes. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Particularly welcome to Connor Kelly, who has not had the thrill of being with our committee before. Connor is with Affordable Housing PEI, or that one name, but I can't remember that part. Alex is here from the city. Hi, Jamie. Jamie just popped in. Good. We got a roaring committee here today. We'll expect a lot of good discussion. Okay. First, okay, well, welcome, and we acknowledge with gratitude and respect that this meeting, even though it's taking place in the air, we are on the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And we are very grateful for their stewardship of this land, their land, and the ability to be on it. Okay, declarations of conflict of interest. Anybody come into a lot of money or something today, or this week? Bill, are you developing whole new things now that we have to declare? Probably not. Okay. No conflict of interest.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I can't hear you very well. I don't know what's wrong. I got my volume turned up as high as I can, but...
Okay, I could shout out the window. How far away are you?
I can't hear you. I don't know what's wrong.
Try logging in again. I can't tell you that. Is Ellen show us? Ellen, can you send him an email after you log in again?
I'm sure I can do that. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I turned up my volume of hearing, so
Ellen, if you want to call me on my other, on this 368, no, just a minute, will that work? Yeah, 368-2658. No, it won't work, sorry. Scripts.
Okay, we'll see what we can do. Connor, I would love to say this isn't what it's usually like. This is what it's always like. Okay. The agenda. Any other business to throw on the agenda? I have one, and that's welcome to a guest that during discussions when we talk about the new Residential Tenancy Act Consultation and other things. Anyway, in discussions, we'll throw a welcome to Connor Kelly. Okay? Anything else? Can we approve the agenda by consensus? Everybody nod their head. Nobody nodded their head. Okay. I almost saw somebody. Okay, so it's approved by consensus. Business arising from those minutes, I think it's all in the discussions. Anybody else have any other business arising from those minutes? Jamie, can you hear us? Thinking people aren't hearing us. Would everyone say something if they can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Good. Jamie McDonald can't hear us.
Oh, fine.
Somebody, Ellen, can you send her a note that says, we don't think you can hear us, please? Thank you. Okay, and hearing no business arising, hearing no nothing, we'll just continue along. Discussions. Delighted to have Connor join us today. Connor, Jamie's giving us the finger now. You should, no, turn down, not Jamie, somebody else. Delighted to have Connor join us today. Connor is the employee, CEO perhaps, of the Department of Housing. Connor, what's your official title?
Tenant Network Coordinator for Cooper Institute and PEI for Affordable Housing.
Okay. When we say Cooper Institute, we often bow our heads in respect for all the good work that Cooper Institute does, even though they're hard to call. Short-term rentals bylaw, the first reading sailed through, okay, at 8-0. And Alex, are you awake still?
Yep.
Okay, can you give us a little update on where we are and a reminder of the process and dates and things?
So, council did approve just one part of the whole overall strategy for STRs, and that's, they're only at present dealing with where they will be, acceptably located in 2022, but there's other pieces that need to be decided by council. One is there's a registration bylaw that needs to be brought into place, a summary conviction bylaw that needs to be brought into place, and the actual regulating of it with fees and building inspection will, council has tentatively agreed for some kind of a grace period to allow people to transition. So I would just caution that one piece of it is done where they'll be allowed, but the regulation fees that will be applied to it, any kind of building inspection regime that would be accompanying it, the summary conviction bylaw that will go after those that don't comply, that will come at a later date in the year, and council will decide that in February.
So the grace period is the key part right now, I'm thinking.
I think on the one hand, I mean, there's pressure on the city for some time to clearly give the direction in regard to where this land use was going to be acceptable. So that's what they agreed upon, where it would be acceptable. That will allow the city to write letters to the province for those that meet that criteria in 2022. But the rest of the regime, and that's up to council, whether they wish to grandfather some to allow them to transition, and that would be for a finite period of time, but again, that's a council decision. And then the summary conviction bylaw and registration bylaw have to all come into effect to really wrap the city's arms around the entirety of what we're trying to achieve there.
Okay, so February is the key date, February council meeting.
That's a key date in regard to the rest of what's going to follow, where they will be located. I mean, they've already made that decision where they'll be located, but the intent is to regulate much more. I don't know what the term is. Much more in a fulsome manner. Exactly. The consequences if you don't adhere to our bylaw, and that you need to be registered, and there's like the building inspection. We will have some kind of a limited building inspection review of those units. There's a ton of them, so that can't happen overnight. But that all has to be clarified for council, and then they will come up with a date. Not on the land use. The land use has been set, so that decision is made. It's these other additional pieces which will move forward in February.
Okay, and $10 to you for using the word fulsome in real life in a meeting, out loud and correctly. Congratulations. Okay, questions for Alex on short-term rentals? Jamie, can you hear us now?
Yeah?
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Nice to hear you too. And Bill, can you hear us better?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Just perfectly. It's like you're in my ear. Okay. Okay, I want to move along now, and we'll combine them for sure. But the new Residential Tenancy Act consultation, I sent you all those drafts, and I sent you the final copy, which looked a lot like the drafts. I appreciated the input. I got phone calls and everything from you, which was great. And Connor represented the tenants kind of on the consultation, the online or the virtual consultations. So he represented tenants. Chris LeClaire represented the people that own the buildings, the landlords. They each did a presentation, and then Connor, what was the name of the fellow from Ghana?
From Ghana was Vernon McIntyre.
Yeah, and they're putting together their final draft, I guess. In those meetings, and all you could do is ask the question, and Christina McLeod, who was facilitating it, would read your questions. Okay, and I told her afterwards that I'm not playing poker with her. She kept a straight face all the way through, which I would not have, of course. My eyes are going and things like that. If I could just characterize it for 10 seconds, both sides had way too much stuff on their slides. The landlords that had been put together by a lawyer, I think, because it referred to the letter and the number of what was on the draft that they didn't like, and it appeared to be that they were kind of really, to me, that they were kind of really stretching the envelope at that end as a negotiation tactic. You know, put in some unbelievable things way out to one end, so that when there's a compromise, it leans toward that end. Of course, the tenants did the same thing, but not as obviously, perhaps. Connor, what was your impression? You were both events.
That's a pretty accurate description. It was definitely a lot of information to be packed into a short amount of time for the presentation. And then, yeah, I think we're both asking for more than we expect to get, but just because we want to make sure we get what we expect. So,
yeah, some with a personal bias, certainly when I say this next thing, some of the things they said were frightening. And I'm sure some of the things the Congress said were frightening on the other end to them. But some of the things they wanted, which is I didn't get it. Anyway, so with that being said, they dovetailed. Connor, what were some of the things you heard from government that leads you to think they're going one way or another?
I find, especially from the way the draft was revised and how careful they were to put matters in a positive light each time they were describing them, but didn't necessarily do that for tenants. I'd say it seems like they're leaning towards a draft that's more similar to the current consultation draft, so something that's more in favor of landlords. But they have paid lobbyists to talking to them behind the scenes outside of consultation period. And they've had fees at the large for at least getting close to a year soon, because we had him show up in the middle or late off the summer. And I think going to be talking to the minister a lot. So yeah, I'd say I would assume that it's leaning towards the landlords, mostly because I haven't seen the same sort of coordinated pressure from tenants yet, which is what the program is trying to organize. But until it happens, then I'm going to assume it's more in the favor of landlords.
Yeah, that draft, and what did other people think of that draft? Did it seem to skew towards favoring landlords? This is you talk? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I felt it did a little bit.
Yeah. The thing that really gets to me on that draft is taking off the cap. But I don't like that. Other thoughts? This meeting's going well. Good. Okay. I made sure our question got on, our two-parter, one about the cap, that was basically a whine about taking the cap off, but the other one about the rental registry. And the response, as I understood it, Connie, you can correct me, the response as I understood about the rental registry, they were looking in your ear, when the response to the rental registry is that they have some committee or report, they're waiting for a report on whether we need a rental registry, so it's not going to appear in this version of the draft. And I thought that was just a delaying tactic, to be honest. What do other people think? Connor, nobody else is going to talk but you and me. Go for it.
Yeah, I definitely would say it's delaying tactics. Like, we agreed to make a committee to look into this issue, to draft a report of whether we should do anything with this issue, and then like, that'll take a while. When the actual putting together the registry would be very fast, because the land registry office is right there. Yeah, I think it would be something that would really, it may not have a lot of like teeth to it to start, but even just making it very transparent of what is happening to rents is something I don't think landlords would like. So there's a lot of likely backlash from landlords against putting together a rental registry, which is probably why it's being so slow about it.
The rental registry seems to be a key to me. You can't legislate anything, or you can't enforce anything unless you know what's happening.
Yeah. Otherwise it falls on the tenants to prove it, and that gets really hard because tenants get evicted to raise the rent.
Yeah, and even, like, Compass is after me to go on this afternoon. Brian Higgins, did you get a call, Connor, or I sick them on you?
Yeah.
It was my fault, so thank you. And they want to go on and talk about the rental situation. I can only talk about anecdotally, but I'm hearing, I'm seeing on the Twitter, so it must be true, I'm hearing that outside, people that live off the island are buying up properties to rent. I don't know if anybody else is hearing it or whether I'm crazy, but if there's a rental registry, you can figure that out. You don't know, you can't check anything.
People are buying houses that aren't necessarily rentals right now, but they're buying them and to rent them,
Yeah.
and hoping to retire in a. But they're buying the houses now.
But when I get a report that there's a person that bought 4 of them, they're not hoping to retire in 4 houses. I think that's an issue, for sure.
It's definitely a thing. Sorry to cut you off, but
Please.
like, I have relatives in Ontario who have a decent amount of money, and they were here in the summer, and they were telling me how they plan to buy like 4 or 5 properties to short-term rental them, and then they wanted to hire me to clean them, and I said no. But it's definitely like a thing. Like someone in my family is a realtor in Ontario, and like goes back and forth with realtors on PEI, and they hook each other up with clients to sell specifically to people in Ontario who plan to stay there and rent them out. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, Craig Cameron. It's nice to see you. For sure.
I was muted there, sorry.
No. Okay. That's okay. I'm assuming everybody else is muted when I ask for the responses. It's good to see you. We've got the whole team here, I think. Yeah. Wow. My screen is full. People that care about affordable housing. Okay. Where do we go from here? That's the question. What should be our next steps?
It's Alex. We're going to make this comment, and you can take it for what it's worth. But again, because this is such a very topical issue, and you folks are a committee of council. I mean, I'm just a staff person that reports to this committee. But when I hear Brian Higgins or whatever the CBC, you should likely, whoever as the chair, be working through the city's communication people. Like if you're using the term, the city's affordable housing group, because usually any of my other committees don't speak directly to the public. So, typically politicians like to know what's going to happen. So there likely should be some kind of protocol or some kind of a connectivity back to the communications people so that they know that there may be a statement from your group. So I just saw that in. Thanks.
Alex, who are the communications, who are these people?
They're city communications people, and just for if you're not aware of it, I mean, like if the CBC calls me on anything, I don't speak to them directly. They have to go through the communications people. So the communications people are kind of the gatekeeper. They follow up. They do also chase me down once the communications people if they want an answer from me, but they're the ones that inform the various parties that be advised that Alex may speak on this issue, or you may see a statement in the media. So, it's always a bit of a dance. You're all individual citizens, and you can do what you want as individual citizens. But and again, I don't know.
Yeah, if there's a communications head in the city of Charlottetown, is there somebody for a department, or I don't know?
There is a department, and again, I can line you up with that. And look, I can get some more clarity on this myself. I mean, like I say, I'm here just to assist and facilitate, your discussions if you have a request. But it's just that on the issue of like anything, I mean, the planning board, any of those committees rarely ever make any statements to the public. So I just know in general that somebody likes to know what's going on. So maybe I'll get some better clarity, and I'll get back to you, Bob.
Okay, I am operating as in my head here on this, and it's going to have to be outstanding clarity to get me to stop. I'm operating on the idea that when it was time to send a reaction about the short-term rental proposed bylaw and regulations, we had to go through, we sent letters and everything, but we had to go to the public meeting and say, as a member of the public. We didn't have access, we didn't have any particular, we were treated as a member of the public. So I'm going to treat the committee as a member of the public in terms of being able to speak on things. But we're supposed to advise council, yeah, but we advise them. We've never received anything back at all.
Yeah. So what? Again, I'm just I'm a staff person, but I just know I've got 3 other committees. None of them ever speak to the media. So and it's just even the protocols over me if the media calls me on anything. There's just there is a protocol there. I will take advice from others. I'll get back to you, Bob. I just thought I would throw that up to you.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate where you're coming from, Alex, and I understand that for sure. We'll go back to the original question. What's our next steps? What do we talk about? What do we have opinions about, and where do we send it to? I think one is certainly the rental registry. I would like to see us pressure the city to pressure the province to establish a rental registry.
It would be nice to have a meeting, with somebody like, I don't know if we can get to them or not, the Minister of Housing, on that subject, just to see where they're at, and they'll know who we are and what we feel, or how we feel about it. Are we communicating that well enough through our lines of communication to the province?
That's one of the reasons I'm not happy to go on Compass, but I'm certainly not shutting it down either, because I don't think our communications is getting out, really. The only time it really did was, as I said before, was when we presented at the public meeting that was under so much scrutiny. And that's where a lot of this is still coming from. That people, geez, they haven't committed.
Well, I think it's good that we are communicating with the public, but if there is a communications department and if there's somebody who's responsible for all that stuff, I mean, it would be great to let them know what we're doing. That's about all I would say about that.
Our presentation to the Tenancy Consultation, Tenancy Act Consultation, I sent a copy of it to the mayor about a minute before we made it. But anyway, and that's about where I would go tonight too. If Brian Higgins is still wanting me to talk. CPC, I talked and then I informed the mayor that I did. Okay. Connor, are you gonna be on that? Are you gonna work with Brian on this? Higgins?
Yeah, I said I'd do an interview with him.
Yeah.
Are you going to go over basically the usual stuff to go over? Would there be anything you want me to bring to him? Because I'm acting outside of, I'm not part of any committee or anything at City of Charlottetown.
Well, depending on actually not depending on the questions he asks, whatever questions he asks, I'm going to talk about, we'll talk about the short-term rental thing. I will answer him about the key thing is the grace period and the grandfathering in, and that's about it. That's about where I'm going on that one, for sure. And I'm sure you're somewhere near that too.
Yeah, I definitely talk about short-term rentals, and also the need for just stricter regulation around rent increases, and then like property standards as well. Because there's a lot of places, a big part of the rents for places is not anywhere near matching the quality of those places. So you have places that are $1,300 a month and like they're right beside fire code violation units in the same building. And that $1,300 apartment, which is an actual apartment on like Upper Prince Street, has no doors on the cupboards and like a roach infestation that the landlord's never fixed. It's $1,300 a month, just because the landlord can get away with that. And that's very similar to basically any apartment in Charlottetown. If somebody's left it recently, it's going to be over $1,000. So
Yeah.
having stricter regulation, like rental registry, or just like a cap on how much landlords can apply for rent increases beyond the allowable amount. Some of the presentation I gave is the stuff I'll go over. Because the market makes them think they can get this much money out of their units, so they should get that much money out of their units, so they're going to do what they can to get that amount of money out of their units. I usually, at this point, I kind of just ran most interviews.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go back to ask my question again. Where do we go from here? I kind of know where we're going on short-term rentals. We shot our guns on that one, and we'll talk about it, maybe in the public, but we'll seek out the public for sure. And where do we go on the Tenancy Act? Bill said we meet with government. If the city would be a little shaky on being uncomfortable, really shaky with us meeting with government. I don't think that fits really.
I think we have to go back to our terms of reference and what Mark made Trump to do. Should we go back and review those again, so you know what our next steps should be?
Yeah, we were struck to advise on affordable housing act as a forum also. Paul, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think you could ask the minister or maybe the deputy minister or someone that looks after housing within the province to speak to the committee at a committee meeting. And we can ask questions there in that format.
That makes sense, yeah.
Somebody like David Keywell or Sonia Cobb or someone like that.
Okay, I don't know their positions.
David is the deputy minister, Sonia's the director.
Sonia's not there anymore. She's gone. She used to be my director, like, before, actually.
Where's she gone?
Sonia.
Oh, for God's sake, I didn't know that.
Okay, the public meeting. Greg, were you going to say something?
No.
Good answer.
No. I was, but I'm good.
Okay. Paul?
Good.
Okay. This is hard. I can't read faces, but I can see where the little blue thing lights up. Okay.
Does anyone know who replaced Sonia?
We don't have one yet.
No.
Okay, so they would have an action somewhere. but, probably a request to the deputy for someone to meet with us and talk to us about. Think, reaction to that? Okay, we can do that. I want a motion.
Yep, sounds good.
I so moved. Oh wait, somebody already moved it. I second it.
Ashley is so moving. Is that okay with you? Ashley? Ashley? Are you hearing? In and out? A couple people are in and out here. Okay, Bill, you still moved that we request the meeting?
With, the acting director, I guess, or the deputy minister. Just to have an informal discussion on all this, to see where they're at, see what they got to say.
Okay. And we need a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, who was that?
It was Robin.
Okay. Moved by Bill, second by Robin, that we request, we'll send the request to the Deputy Minister of Housing, or whatever that department is officially called, and request, that someone,
Either a short Zoom call or an in-person, whatever they're comfortable with, I guess.
okay, probably we'll invite them to the next meeting, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. All those abstaining, say yes. Okay, it's passed. 4, I heard 4. Okay, so we will do that for our next meeting, which will be in on the third Tuesday of February, which will come at us relatively quickly, I'm pretty sure. It's only 3 storms away, I suspect. Okay, other next steps. Tom, your recommendations for what this committee might do, we asked earlier guests to do.
Well, I would say on top of meeting with the department as a committee, then as just individual members trying to get either yourselves if you're in districts that have conservative NLAs, or if you know people in districts with conservative NLAs, having them contact the MLA directly, or either sending a letter or calling them on the phone to talk about the importance of having more pro-tenant legislation in the Residential Tenancy Act is probably the biggest thing that could be done for the Act. Only because the Greens are already supportive of better legislation. But the Conservatives also have a majority, so they can kind of do whatever they want. So making it clear then that they have to care about this for votes or whatever they care about in their positions, to put pressure on them to allow amendments to the Act. Would probably be an effective next step.
Do we know when the act's gonna come up for a vote?
Likely in February, because that's when the legislature opens. I don't know the exact date. It's something around there. It'll at least be brought up and mentioned or discussed. I'm not sure if it'll pass. I have no idea if they plan to try to delay it more or something, but that would be the earliest it could be passed.
I think also we could certainly ask people to lobby for the rental register. That would seem to be something that might be possible in the legislature.
Yes, for sure. So that should be a huge help to any tenant in the province.
Okay. Okay. Further business. there anything else on this? Where do we go from here? What do we do? What are we happy with? What are we not happy with?
Well, I'm happy with keeping the lines of communication open. You know, I did a little thing with the Guardian this week, or last week, yeah, this week. No, last week. And it went over well. I got some interesting, you know, responses to it. I think we need to be heard, and we need to keep talking with it. Keep the lines of communication open, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I guess we're going in the right direction. We're trying to line up a meeting and get some of the government people on board to talk to us.
Okay, that was an interesting piece in the Guardian. He said that we need so much more housing. We shouldn't be putting a stop on projects. Is that basically what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where are the rest of us on that?
We definitely need more social housing or public housing. Or it could be condos even.
Well, yeah. There definitely should be more social housing, but also the housing that I was talking about last week is one whereby X number of units are dedicated as affordable housing, affordable units. You know, that's the only reason why I kind of defended the Morris Holdings and the Tim Banks thing. Because, you know, like we're getting calls to every day that people are screaming for affordable housing. And here's a project that's not 100% affordable, but there's going to be some affordable units that in it, and we need them.
But how affordable are those units? Are they just a couple $100 below the market rent, or are they based
I'm not
on?
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the numbers, to be honest, but all I know is for sure is that they're definitely going to be a lot cheaper, that they'll be paying no more than 25%, you know, of their income, and I think they'll be working with the province on that, so. That's why I'd like to have a meeting with, on the director level, like, there's a few questions like that I'd love to ask the right people, see where the province is on partnering with, say, a big operation like Morris Holdings or APM.
That's Alex here, but Bill, there is a big difference between the CMHC funding and the provincial funding. So provincial funding is more targeted towards social housing, and the CMHC funding is more targeted to average rents in a particular neighborhood, and those rents can be very, very significant. So, but it's another part of the housing market. But they're they seem to be two very different markets.
Yeah, they have different medians they use, and the subsidy would be, the formula that would be used would be a percentage of that median, no more than 30% in most places.
Yeah, I think that's the provincial one, and the provincial one, there's no problem with the city. It's the CMHC one, and it's a totally different criteria that I'm not really that confident to speak on, but there is a difference between the two. That's all I...
No, it really is, because we get money directly from CMHC for the rent supplement program, and you know, there is a difference between what the province has to offer and what CMHC does.
What about the idea of converting empty office space into housing? There's funding for that, but we haven't taken advantage of it, is the way I understand it.
Yeah, there's been not much movement on that. We've thought about it as a board. It's come up at one of our board meetings that we should be trying to take advantage of that, but you know, we haven't done much about it yet. Right now, we're focusing on 100 new units in Summerside, and a good portion of that will be subsidized housing.
Is the funding for that provincial or federal?
federal with,
The office-based one. I mean,
oh, sorry, okay, I'm not sure.
The office space one, as I understood it, was federal.
okay.
And
Yeah, I would assume that's where the money's coming from.
And I'm not sure where the initiative has to come from, whether it has to come from private developer or from municipal government or provincial government or what. But, I will look into that.
Yeah, the private developers don't pick it up, the provincial government will pursue it.
But I've heard about it, but I haven't heard anything going on, like you said, for sure. Okay, what else? Okay, to review, we have a motion requesting that somebody from housing is the director level or higher, join us for a meeting, for a roundtable discussion on the Tenancy Act particularly, and also future plans for affordable housing. We should individually get people to contact their local MLA if they live in a riding where the MLA is a conservative, and if otherwise if you're in Charlottetown, you're in a riding where it's a Green Party, and they're already seem to be set up on this. And we want better pro-tenant language in the draft bill for tenancy. And I will contact, or I will research in my brilliant researching style using Google on converting office space into public housing and what kind of program that is. What else happened today? Okay. So before we close, very much like to thank Connor for attending. We appreciate you being here for sure, and appreciate you taking the time. And good luck in all your endeavors. And you can contact us at any point, at any time.
Yes, no, I appreciate that, and I really appreciate being invited here.
Okay. Usually food is provided, but you're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, that's it for other business. Next meeting, as I said, the third Tuesday in February, whenever that is. And I need a motion for adjournment. Thank you. Ashley, thank you. I'm assigning you the motion for adjournment, and we'll just pass that by consent. So, thanks very much, everybody. Have a good day. Keep your feet dry.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for using Bell Conferencing Solutions.